All right, Zoom meeting is set up. I think that's it, right? Okay, cool. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Woo! Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Love it. All right. Sorry. Had to have a little fun. Anyways, real quick, Nick, get your butt up here and accept your signature service or your signature service award, buddy. They missed you last week, my man. So congratulations, buddy.
Cool. Is that from customers as well as?
Yep, for customers and internal. Yep. Capture that moment in time. All right. So real quick, welcome to the 29th. We have 2 days left to recover a little bit and keep it cranking. So again, I looked at, saw a little report, which I'm kind of sad I didn't see it till like of yesterday, but we are a titch under the Colorado bathroom division, a titch under the Phoenix bathroom division, and then like New Mexico's just went on fire this month. They're 1.8 million, so they are kicking tail. Compared to what we were setting at, basically like KPIs are definitely all going up. Last week we had a pretty good week. I think we closed 34% for the entire week. Majority of us all did very well. You know, Cynthia stayed on fire again. She closed over 50% of her orders again all last week. JC killed it. We had a lot of people step up and do good things. So again, what I want to do is we're going to talk about numbers and kind of focus on what we can control and then what we can't. And we also today have a pretty cool meeting topic. So I want to make sure that we're all on our toes today. And what I mean by that is went through the mod report and we put out basically the people that are struggling a little bit, and we wrote out all the 3 most common objections that we keep running into in the houses. So we're gonna write these 3 objections down in teams, and then we're going to gather as teams and come up and figure out how to overcome these objections. First, we're going to reverse engineer it and figure out where the breakdown in the process might be. Secondly, then we're going to talk about things that we're going to, things we could have done to hinder them, and then what the true why is behind it. So we've got some ideas on here we want to try to identify and help those that are running into those situations. And then again, make sure we're getting better at what we're currently doing. By running into the same objections that we're getting beat with, some of them I hear it, and I already know by reading the objection where it was lost myself. But again, if I get up here and I tell you every week what to do, then sometimes the action of you doing it's better than me telling you. So we're going to have you do it and get up in front of the class and tell me and tell the rest of the group what you guys feel like you would do different, and how if you attach that, how if you run into that basically objection again, then you're going to share with the group on the best way to handle that objection, right? If there's time to complain, there's time to train, right? So we want to make sure, again, that basically, what was that quote you hit me with earlier that we talked about, Gretchen? What was it?
You have time to bitch, you have time to practice your pitch.
There you go. You got time to bitch. You got time to practice your pitch. I love it. It's tricky. So I love it. So again, we're going to focus on sharpening the saw today, and we're going to internally come up with the best way to handle these 3 objections. So again, we're all getting better, and we're helping the team. Numbers real quick. This is a little small, but I kind of like posting this up. What it shows our gross close, set at 32%. Our demo percentage is 82. We kind of talked about control and some uncontrollables. That's based on net issued. Now, unfortunately, customer no-shows, that counts against our demo percentage. Our no demos last week were lower, but we did have 6 customer no-shows, which, unfortunately is too high. So again, we want to make sure we're controlling those, and I'm paying attention to that demo percentage like crazy, because again, the more we demo, the more we close. The more we look for reasons not to present, the more we're running away from that, which is putting us in a smaller closing percentage, because then we have to be that good when we're not taking the shot, okay? And at the cost of a lead, we don't ever want to not just be taking the shot. So we look at it right through here as an office, 32%, 12,177 is basically our average sale. Right now, currently, gross, we're at 1,315,194. Right now, after losses, we're at 1,159,582. RPL is right around that 3,500 number, 3,451. We want to raise that up. I figure we want to get that number as close to 4,200 to 4,500 as possible as a whole office. That's with the mix of product lines that we're in. Also, talk about basically that average sell. That average sell is okay, but again, remember, we walk into there just like happened to us at one time in the past. We started going in and trying to sell just what the lead said, and not trying to measure the whole back of the house or the whole side of the house when they're calling out for 2 windows. So remember, we want to mark our territory, but again, we're not trying to basically walk out of there with little mosquito deals. We want to make sure, again, we're picking ourselves up. So if they're looking at just 2 windows that surround the back of the house, that are on the back of the house, but there's 8 windows on the back of the house, step them outside and show them what a difference it'd be to check the box just on the whole back of the house. So again, we're getting a price in front of them for the whole back, and maybe just those 2 if that's all they can afford. But again, don't sell with your budget, sell with theirs. Okay, you're not doing it. And again, the payments are a big deal. Your rescission percentage is 14. That's way too high. So again, that lets me know we're pushing hard, but again, we're leaving something open to speculate. Now this month I've heard excuses from people or, deaths in the family to sicknesses to whatever it is. I mean, quite frankly, some of the stuff is excuses in my mind. Some might be legit, but for the most part, if somebody has an illness and you walk in there and sell them windows, I don't believe the fact they had an illness 3 days later to the point that they're no longer going to live on this earth because they just bought windows. So again, there's some excuses that are far-fetched in my world. Basically, we currently look at this, that $3,400 RPL is, we kind of got to get that mixing, and our net close dropped from 32 down to 27 because of the rescissions, okay? So we got to make sure, again, that we get up to there. We don't have that big of a dollar volume in rescissions, but the number of them have been alarming to me. So again, I want to make sure we're stopping that bleeding. Everybody in here is saying the basically post-rescission script, right? Dana, you got a really good one. Why don't you share, Dana, real quick what you do? Because, yes, I want you to do it.
Well, it's basically I go through the, this is like marriage, big now for disease. And then when they're signing the iPad, there's 3 signatures, one from them, and then it's the 3rd page, the right to rescission. And this is where I go, this is, this page is to protect, basically the state of California. This clearly isn't for you. We already been through this. We designed your windows. This is what you want. This particular page is for those people who they don't know what the heck they want. They're really indecisive, but we have to protect those people too. So you actually absolutely have the right to rescission. You have 72 hours, but just to let you know, if you do cancel, it includes 3% cancellation fee. And that gets it out of 30.
Yeah.
So you just touch on it, but then you let them know you can, but if you do, this is the penalty, and it's in and then it's out. They're like, dang, I got one customer that was like, cha-ching, man, you guys charge a lot to cancel. I said, hey, we're not canceling, right? And they're like, hell no. So as you can see, I haven't had one cancel since it started.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. It's just what it is, just throwing realness at it, right? It's not basically, if you're somebody, don't ever get caught doing a rescission close. Okay, rescission closes are a no-no. We've talked about that in the past. Where you talk about, you got 72 hours to change your mind, right? If you do, you're protected. Don't ever do that crap. That's just waiting for a disaster. That means we need to do a better job selling in the beginning, right? So again, want to make sure that, kind of weird. Make sure that we're doing the little things that are adding up to the big things so we don't have to worry about those things, right? So again, cancellations are generally given by, again, third party, basically people coming into there that offer their opinion, right? Somebody basically got into their ear, they looked at their budget, and we sold them a program. Maybe it's like a 12 months no interest program where they basically realized that after they divided out 12 months that they couldn't live if they made that payment every single month. So again, sometimes remember, if they can't pay that twice at the end of that thing and keep it comfortably, you're setting yourself up maybe for a disaster. We should maybe set them up for like a 6.99 at 120 or something to that nature to make sure we put them in the right program. I'm not sure what is going on through here, so I'm going to roll back here real quick. Some of the outliers that we look at right now, Dana, 48%, 112, 424, good job. Mr. Doherty's got 182, 770 on the board, $8,300 RPL, good job. Dana's got 5358 RPL, good job on that. Mr. Jeremy's at 102, 873, good job. Right through here, we got basically, let me look at it right back down here, going from that. Okay, there's Miss JC, is at 70 grand, 47% close, 4,136 RPM. Down through here, Miss Cynthia, she's at basically 143,090. She has basically $7,155 RPL and a 55% close.
Yeah.
Cynthia, what's your magic?
I don't know, I was thinking about that because somebody else asked me that. I feel like I'm just doing what you taught me, honestly. It's not really that, I don't think there's anything that special. Getting real with people and kind of sticking to the script but not being too stuck on it, like really trying to make a connection with people, but not like going on a tangent of connection.
Yeah.
Like I think I was doing that more at the beginning, just kind of like keep reeling back in. But I think people like to feel like you understand them, tapping into the pain of their life, whether it's the windows or something else. Like I don't know, it's kind of like you can get people to have a vulnerable moment, then you make a connection and they trust you.
Very nice. Well, good job. Well, thank you for that. All right. Mr. Moore.
Okay. All right, got a couple things real quick. Congratulations to Nick on his signature service plaque. So because he was awarded today, I'm also going to put him on the spot. So what's nice about ride-alongs is you get a chance to see talent. And sometimes this talent is right there in your face. So I took the moment to film Nick as he doesn't know about this, so that's why I'm putting him on the spot. But it's America's Got Talent. Give him a break. I mean, he was cold. He didn't get a chance to warm up, but he does have talent. And if you ever ask him, he'll tell you about it. And let's see here. Let's see if I can get it on the big screen here. There you go.
Okay.
Is this happening, Tim?
You get make a little smile at the end. I was going to keep recording, but the homeowner was talking to me. So I was like, just kind of brushing him off. It's like, hey, I'm recording here. But he wanted to show me his son's baseball, all the trophies that he's got. So his son's playing, I think it was AAA.
I think he was playing pro.
Was he pro now? Okay. So he was very proud. He had memorabilia all over. He had his whole garage set up with a sound studio. And so he actually played the bass for a little bit as well. I wish I could have caught more of Nick. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. So if I'm out there and I see a talent, I might catch you on film. So, all right. So let's get to, so this is something new. You're not going to see it on the front. This is a preliminary, only because there was a typo. So we got to get this redone. But we talked a lot about structural engineering and how important it is to set expectations when it comes to the homeowner. That process. So we've had a form that we've used in the past, and now this has become more official. So anytime you have a homeowner where they want to enlarge an opening or want to create an opening, if we're doing a big panoramic, door or whatever the case may be, we want to make sure we walk them through this process. Because what's happening a lot of times is homeowners have this expectation, and if we're not communicating it succinctly, they're going to be calling you within 4 to 6 weeks going, where's my door? Why haven't I gotten an appointment to have installers come in? And so we're going to use this now. And so this will be an opportunity to be able to sit down, kind of go through it, but you also want to make sure you get their signature, have them date it. There'll be a carbon copy one we take back, we turn into production, and one they keep with their paperwork. So that if they ever do bring up, hey, I thought you said this could be done in 8 weeks, we have to refer back to that. But I'm not going to go through point by point, just know, because we've done this before, just know you're looking at 4 months, 4 to 6 months. Just depends on how big the project is. A lot of it has to do with architect, the drawings, the city, getting approval from the city. All that can take a lot more time. Inspections, when they come back out. So you got city inspectors having to inspect piece by piece by piece. And so all that can delay the end result. And so a lot of this is out of our control. We need to let them know that. What we can control, we will. The rest of it is really out of our hands. We're kind of at the mercy of the architect, the city, the inspectors, things like that. So it's a lot of scheduling that goes into that. Any question on that form? Okay, I didn't think so because we'd already gone through this, but just that'll be coming out. That'll be in your packets. And then we'll see how many we can make up. I would try to keep a couple just on the side in case one is not in your packet. Mike?
Just let them know too, I mean, even the construction of it, this isn't something that we're knocking out in a day. This is, we're gonna stop work, have certain things inspected, go off the job.
That's
back on the
correct.
job, and also help sell why it costs the way it does. The move-ons cost money to do a half a day's worth of work, have it as leave, wait for inspection, come back. Yeah, it's a lengthy process, and just the construction side, once it needs approval.
Right. So we had a situation, and I've shared it with you up in Ramona. There was a homeowner that was doing a lot of major construction. And so the house had multiple rooms, multiple enlargements, multiple creating openings. But the homeowner didn't want it all done kind of at once. In other words, having openings made and then have the city inspector come out as you go through the different trades. She wanted to do it room by room by room. So the inspectors kept having to come back. Same inspectors had to keep coming back for that room, followed by the next room, which kept delaying it and delaying it and delaying it. And because as part of a PACE program, we went beyond that term limit. And that became a huge nightmare. So ideally, we want to be able to do this all in one shot, have the inspector come out, inspect everything that's being done based on whatever that trade is. So if it's stucco, if it's framing, things like that, we want to make sure to try to get it all done in that one shot. That way they don't have to keep coming back repeatedly to inspect similar stuff.
I just have a question on that. So the big picture overall, if you go into a house and let's say right now they want to do one section, open one section, but really maybe they can't afford this year, maybe next year they want to do something else. can we do the structural engineering based on what they want as an end result? Because if they have to pay for it once, then can't the structural engineering be done? And then we can charge them one time, say they want to do like 3 projects, but all of them include structural engineering. We charge structural engineering one time,
Right.
correct? So if they want to start with a piano door here and then do like what you're saying in Ramona, because I had this happen the other day. I always say, think with the end in mind, and then I'm realizing that maybe I put my foot in my mouth. So if they do structural engineering, we can do that for all 3 projects under one structural engineering, correct?
That's a great question, because, and I think Dustin may have to answer that. There might be a time limit. I don't know how long, if they do the engineering and they drop the drawings, I don't know how long that lasts, if there's a cutoff where you have to do it again because too much time has transpired.
Yeah, that's, because
So I think,
Well, that, you can definitely do that. The only challenge that rolls into it, but then they have their engineering, so if they want to price shop you, then literally they could try to do that or choose somebody else to help do the project. But it would be done, structural engineering would be done if you're trying to sell that.
and to that point, just personally, what happened to me was I had structural engineering from one company, they had already done it, and we came in, and I thought we could use it. Turns out we couldn't use it, we had to get structural engineering. Thankfully, I put a little note just in case in the little paperwork, to CYA. And then Vinny's like, no, we can't use someone else's structural engineering. So,
Why would that be? That was a kid middle thing, by the way. That's why we didn't use that. So there's a time limit on it, right? And there's only
That's
a
what I
time
thought.
limit on your structural engineering plans. 1 year. That's if you did or you did. You don't, it's not you get one plan that lasts forever. So you get 1 year. Yeah, some cities, it's in the 6 months, but most time it's a year. Is what the time frame is from the time they set it before they get it done.
And that's something to the permitting from the city or something? Requirement for them?
Yeah, and the other thing too, you gotta realize, it takes a lot of man hours to babysit that thing from the time that you submit it with the engineer or the architects and getting everybody to work together by the time we come through. There's a lot of money, a lot of time involved in babysitting that project from the beginning from where they acknowledge the agreement or to basically the time we actually get to do the construction. There's probably, 40 plus hours, all together packed into it over several weeks to actually get that thing to the point where we can actually get up there and install. So if not, a homeowner would have to do that, or a single contractor would have to be chasing out of all this spare time or no spare time to try to go down to the city, submit the plans, resubmit, do anything, work with the architect, work with the engineer. There's so many different things that can go wrong on that. And I've sit there and watched them. If you look at the time frame and really get to know it and explain it to them, it's not an easy process. I've done it, it's a pain in the ass. And it is time consuming. They're getting time with money. And when you look at that aspect, we're doing it for them, but it's time.
So how does the payment work? So if do they start their, like they're doing a payment plan on that, do they start as soon as it's approved? So even though the job is still 6 months out from being built, they're gonna already be paying on it.
Finance.
Yes.
And that starts right away, just like.
As soon as they're
any other
approved.
job.
Yep.
We pay for it anyways.
Yeah, well, just they can't, like, if it goes 4 months into it, and they're like, where's my door? We already paid for it, that's gonna help. I mean, obviously, it's gotta be that way, but I.
You just gotta explain to them, because we need the funds up front to be able to pay for this.
To start it all.
All the man hours to be able to order the product. This doesn't even include HOA approval. So before you can even get to that, you still got to get HOA approval. That could, depending on when they meet, when they approve of it, it could be another month. So if they got HOA and it's required, let them know this is in addition to that approval.
man, you should put a little star at the bottom, like saying this does not, timeline does not include HOA, like CYA, that's on that form. If that doesn't include HOA, we need to list that little star, does not include HOA, you know what I mean? Just CYA.
But doesn't the HOA need all the plans and stuff like that to approve it?
Depends on the HOA, the neighbors and all that.
No,
They
Well,
don't?
if you just say 4 to 6 months, you're covering this anyway.
Yeah,
seems like the HOA would want all that stuff first, so before they approve it, but no. The architectural plans,
Unless you
I haven't had a problem.
Unless you have an old engineer on there or something,
Right.
it's not really.
you just basically say we're doing this, but they don't need to see all the architectural
You
plans.
just show them what they're gonna do, show them.
Right.
Perimeter plan. If you're doing like an addition to the house or something, and you're not staying in the same level, then you do have to see. If you're gonna do a patio room or build like a little addition, you have to see that stuff.
A lot of HOAs will have the blueprints of the house, and so someone like Jose can easily just draw in where the location's gonna be, what we're gonna do, explain the process and all that. As long as they understand it, they don't need the architectural drawings.
HOA is just trying to make sure it's not gonna be valued forever.
Correct.
That's their.
Their guidelines. Any other questions? Okay.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it's just, it's something you can put in front of your face, we'll make the corrections on it. And we added on the bottom of things to being the best part of Dreamstar remodeling, just to make sure it's that little beautiful touch. On that end of it, it's a pretty cool form that lays out the process. So again, it sets the right expectations. So they're not thinking we're gonna be done in 6 to 8 weeks. Because they kept coming to me and said, well, you guys are saying it's gonna be done in 6 to 8 weeks. I said, no, we don't. I said, that's what the customer wanted to hear. So that's why I said, we'll come up with a form that the project manager, we can hand out. So this will be a carbon copy form on the real one that they'll have a copy and we'll have a copy that gets put in the file with their signature. So they don't come back at us at the, after the job's completed and want money back.
I have a question just to clarify. When we're dealing, when we have to include engineering, the minimum header is a 4x4, correct? So you know you can widen that door or window up to 4 feet without engineering? I know you can shrink it, that's not a problem, but if you've got a 36-inch door and someone wants to add a side light and expand it, that header is already a 4x4, so for every foot it goes up in inches. Can we not have engineering involved and still just put a new header in there?
That's on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
I can't that's such a basic but huge question
Okay.
because it matters on where it's setting on the house. There's all kinds of things that matter on it. That's why I say if you're not sure, send an inside and an outside picture with measurements and then shoot it to myself, Vinny, and Scott, and you can add Jose on there if you want to. But one of the four will get us in there get you basically an answer back real quick. The purpose is with everything being seismic here because of earthquakes, that's where we run into like in the Midwest. I'd never seen like when I moved here, I'm like, what the hell? I said, what do they mean? This is basic, right? Taking that out and moving the header and basically rebuilding the header, not a big deal. But I guess the other thing being seismic here, they're really sensitive on the footprint. And unfortunately in San Diego, people built houses at the least effort. So everybody buying the cheapest square foot. Therefore, every corner that could be cut was cut. Like for instance, like shear walls, I'm used to basically they automatically do it because it's tornado zones, right? So there's normally the framing of a house already has basically your sheathing on the corners of that to prevent it from twisting or buckling. Here, it's one of the steps they left off because it's cheaper to build the house that way. So that's why, all these different requirements of shear walls and things have to come in because it really, I think lately now from 2000 on, is that it? Where basically they started automatically doing the shear walls inside of it. But before that, they were leaving it off because it's a lot cheaper not to basically shear the walls on the side of it. Not to mention you people that have started bath remodels have learned about post-tension slabs, right? Post-tension slab, does anybody ever know what a post-tension slab besides the people I've taught already? Okay, so post-tension slab, if you open up a garage, you'll see there's a stamp that actually says post-tension on it. And the post-tension, I think I posted something on the string the other day showing it. But a post-tension slab means that the foundation, they couldn't dig down far enough to pour a concrete foundation to basically make a difference. So they had to build basically the foundation of the concrete with these little cords that pull through. And there's a machine that ranks on these cords and it pulls it tight where it's like 25,000 and 30,000 pounds of pressure that's holding the slab into one place. And that keeps the slab from settling or the house foundation from shifting. That post-tension. That's why I always say, you never want to drill down in a post-tension slab or break it down at all because you'll screw the whole house up. Like literally the point where insurance would have to tear down that part of the house that came into it and rebuild at least the concrete area that was actually affected right through there. So some pretty cool things when you start studying the housing construction here. It's a different ball game than most. So that's why, again, if you're doing like a cutout, say I'm going to bump, say there's a bump out here, and they're wanting to, basically move the wall out a little bit, and we got to pour concrete foundation there. Sometimes that might not even be an option. So again, realize what we're dealing with on the construction side of it. If you see somebody doing that, one of the coolest things you can do to add instant gratification, go to the garage, ask them to lift the garage door up and look for the post-tension slab. It generally sits right in the middle of the garage or off to the right on the slab itself. And it just has like a post-tension thing. And I'll post it again on strings so you guys can see what it looks like. But it kind of is one of those instant credibility earners, right? Especially if people are trying to get outside of their realm of what they're thinking, and you start showing them that you can't do that based on what's going on with the construction of the house. Cool. Any more questions on this thing? All right. So let's clean the palette, then we'll get into today's team activity.
There are areas within myself where I cannot compromise. I am going to work hard. I am going to train hard. I am going to improve myself. I am not going to rest on my laurels. I am going to own my mistakes and confront them. I am going to face my demons. I'm not going to give up or give out or give in. I am going to stand. I am going to maintain my self-discipline.
Hold on. This is what happens when you put together something early in the morning.
Holding the line, giving no slack, none. That's the discipline. And it is hard. And if there's one thing I would say that does make it easier, envision what it feels like when you're done. When they're done, they feel good. Contrary to that, envision what you will feel like later when you let the discipline slack. You know the feeling. Being weak, and you know that you're falling behind. Ask yourself which one you want to feel in 10 minutes. When the thing is done, when the discipline has been implemented. So work through the weakness, fight through the temptation, hold the line. It is not easy, but it is worth it.
Wherever focus goes, energy flows.
Focus on one thing, make it your priority, and stick with it no matter what. If you're trying to get there, you cannot stop believing. No matter what anybody says, no matter what anybody tells you, don't stop. You have to know it beyond knowing it. Narrow your focus to one idea, and make it work.
Clarity is power. The more clear you are about exactly what it is you want, the more your brain knows how to get there. What's compelling? Where are you? Where do you want to be? And it gets so compelling you can't help when you wake up in the morning and you want to transform this area of life. When you do that with your body, or your emotions, or your finances, or time, or any other area, if you start focusing, you're clear, you're going to have energy, you're going to have drive, you're going to start to do something.
They talk a lot about people dying from their diet, about what they're eating. But I strongly believe that more people are dying because of what's eating them. See, when you know what you're supposed to do, or if you know you can do more than what you're now doing, and you're not doing it, life will eat you up. It will wear you out. You will live to regret it. When you're acting on your greed, or you're seeking and relentlessly trying to find your purpose, what fits with you, needs a level of peace. Life now takes on this picture. But if you decide to settle for this all, it doesn't matter. No, it does matter. People with dreams live longer than people without dreams. They don't need a lot of get up in the morning. You got a different level of energy about you. So when your dream is not,
said, oh, no, it's necessary. But I'll do something about this. Because if I know it's going to keep them out there, drive me crazy. No, I've got to do this.
So if you think about that holding the line, I like it because it's not what you eat, it's what you choose, right? You think about negativity, you think about our situational awareness, I call it. Same thing as like customer care, right? Where you get used to living with something and so used to hearing things and something you start buying into becoming true. And you can never let that happen. You got to be able to identify and constantly work on it. One of the things about human beings in general, especially the way we're made up, and I know how you're all made up, so I hired you. And I wouldn't have hired you unless your makeup's a certain way. That's why you always have to take that test. And if you don't pass, even though I like you, if you don't pass the test, you're not getting to work there. Because you're not basically driven to the point where you're going to be successful and you have that kind of push on your own. Unfortunately, when that happens, we become people that become, we call emotionally deficient, relationship deficient, which means that, we have maybe one person in our life, maybe two people in our life that we let ourselves be vulnerable to, which means that we admit we're weak or not as good in certain areas. And just having a spouse or one person that you share with some things that you feel weak in, or you feel basically inadequate, or you need help in, this is enough. So what I mean by that is, when you get in a rut, right? A lot of times arrogance kicks in, where we don't want to admit we need help because then something's wrong. Would you agree with that? Yeah, I'm there too, right? Because again, as human beings and our personalities is kind of that driver influencer, literally doesn't want to admit that anything's wrong, because if we do, then we identify there's a problem. If there's a problem, that's not my problem, that's your problem. That's because of you, not because of me, right? That's how we relate, it's how we think about it. But, they always say you need anywhere between 3 to 10 people in basically your relationship circle, which is kind of hard to have, especially in a job where we work the hours we work, basically an attitude where we don't want to be vulnerable. We got to keep our head on straight. We got the 6 inch between our ears always spikeless, right? And isn't it nice sometimes? You ever just had a good conversation with a friend you haven't maybe talked to in a long time, and you just kind of sit there and catch up? And you feel like you cut a little weight off your shoulders because you released something out that just made you feel better, right? It's kind of like our business. You really think about it. We run into areas in our basic presentation, in our business, that kind of punch us in the face sometimes. And rather than admitting it might be something that we're doing that might be a problem, we always want to blame it back on the customer. And today what I want us to think about when we're going through today's lesson is, number one, how many people, you got a big group of people in here, or other people in the industry maybe you worked with at one time. How many people do you have that you can call through, and if you're running into things that you're not sure on how to overcome, how many people's in your network? Right? If you fell into a 14-foot ditch and basically you were sitting there waiting for somebody to get you, would, number one, anyone even be looking for you if you were missing? Number two, if they were looking for you, you came up to that ditch and they looked down, would they be, hey, you got this, buddy? Come on, get on out, buddy. Come on, you got this, man. Or do you have anybody that jump in the ditch and help you get out? So again, what you look at, relationships sometimes are just as important. Sometimes relationships in our life are just as important to help us be successful as basically what we're doing itself. So remember, what's your outside influences, what your outside being is, your paradigm, helps make your inside paradigm. So again, remember, you're one person. You're one being. You're one design consultant. And if we don't find ways within our group to help build each other up and give us that affirmation, and not just tell us we can do it and tell us we're being ridiculous, maybe listen and figure out what the why is behind it. But I challenge you guys, we talked about the why so much. Do you know why you do what you do? Do you know why you show up to work every day and do what you do? You know why you chase the paycheck you do? It's kind of important to understand that, right? What's the reason behind the madness, right? What's the reason behind wanting more income? What's the reason behind wanting more success? What does it bring you? When you think of that stuff, and you hear these little bullcrap objections we're about to throw up, you got to realize that sometimes we overthink it. And we let the customer share us what their perception is. You know, in our industry, we're the best. There is nobody that knows more in San Diego than anyone in this room has gone through training. Zero. Okay? Anybody that's left will tell you how good you got it. So when you look at it, we've got to be on our A game, right? We've got to show up every day ready to play. If we really are passionate about it, you don't need an alarm clock, right? You get up and you're ready to start the day and get this damn thing moving. You know, are you practicing your craft? Well, how many hours a week are we practicing this thing, right? Because it's kind of like being in the ditch. If you're sitting there helplessly waiting for somebody to pull you out of the ditch and you're not doing stuff to help yourself, then sometimes people aren't going to come for you, especially if your network's not that good, right? So you need somebody in your network. That's why I always call buoyancy or accountability partners. They basically help you. So that way, if you're screwing up and you know your numbers aren't there, who can you call and say, damn it, here's what I ran into, and I've ran into it 3 times this week. I don't know what the hell is going on. Instead of saying, the lead sucked, which is the first place to go to, well, let me ask you, tell me about your presentation. What do you think caused that? So the frame of thinking I want you to be into, and when you read the objection, don't believe any bullshit, right? We're all salespeople. We'll sell you on the reason why you should believe my story on why I didn't sell it. And sometimes that story is a better convicting story than the one I gave the house trying to sell the project first, right? So again, when you look at that thing, I don't believe any of it because at the end of the day, everything tells a story. So when you guys look at this thing, don't look at it from a linear standpoint. Don't look at it from basically a situation awareness standpoint. Don't let the customer put their situation awareness on you just because they've been dealing with it for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. They just moved in the house 6 months ago, whatever it might be. You're there because they are eventually going to buy windows from somebody at some time. And it's our job to make sure we make that time the right time, whether it's with our inspection, make sure we're pricing correctly, make sure we're selling the freaking payment the right way, and we're getting all our little cues into line and understand what situation we're dealing with. So when it comes down to the end and they share with us this stuff, we're not scared to give it back to them. And there's a nice way of basically going back at somebody, and then there's a wrong way. You never act offended, right? We never act offended. We never act upset. We, again, want to gain clarity for why they're saying what they're saying, and then punch them back with logic. Remember, emotional presentation, logical close. The windows, if you did a good job inspecting it, are never going to take care of it themselves. So we need to make sure the windows, if they're not going to get a big flame themselves and you're out there, don't buy a lie. I'd rather see you walk away and they told me hell no. They told me get the hell out of my house. They're not buying windows at any price from me, rather than basically, hey, they're going to call me back in 3 days. They're going to call me back in a week. Don't rehash this one. Because in my mind, we missed something on the presentation that hit us. Unless it's a one party and you got both decision makers there, you're never going to be in a better position than you are today to get that business. There's zero time you're going to share more information that they're going to think about it and call you back 3 or 4 days later. The best time to make an educated and logical decision is when the facts are in front of them. And just like if you were going to try out for a movie where you made $1 million, if you got to try out for the movie, guess what? You get one shot. Just like in that house, we get one shot. So I want you to think about it. When we go through these objections, you break up your teams. Mark's getting ready to line you guys out. And don't go with the same damn teams you go into. Split up. Get somebody that you would want, that you trust their valuable opinion in your freaking group. And make sure you guys are all bouncing stuff off of you. And if you sit back and let everybody else do the work for you, you're not throwing your input in, you're an idiot. That means you don't know what you don't know. That means you're a bad person. It just means you don't know what you don't know. Dive into it. Learn. Absorb. Figure it out. Role play it once you think you got it. And make sure it makes sense. Because I'm going to make you role play with me in a minute. So again, you guys come up with the answers. Here's the 3 top excuses or smoke screens based on San Diego Dream Style Remodeling. So number 1, multiple projects going on and they want to wait. Number 2, promise a free quote that's good for a year and they want to wait. Do pretty much the same thing. Number 3, basically getting other quotes because your price is higher than other bids. getting other quotes or mixed in the same thing is basically prices higher than the other bids that they received. So they're going to continue getting other quotes, which is a nice way to tell you to go after yourself. Okay. So again, I'm going to break it out. Mark, you break it out and then set the teams up. I guess we can do 4 teams. There's a pretty good amount of people in here today. So
Yeah, let's do 4.
all right. So in a minute we go through, but I want you guys to take all 3 in your group and isolate and identify. Okay. Isolate and identify. And I want to see what you guys come up with. Let's try this. Yeah.
How do you come up with these here?
We look through a mod report. We can read everything you guys put down. So I had Mark go through and read all the ones that had commonality into it. Mark a check mark to it. So again, these are the ones that we're running into based on your dispositions that we're running into.
What about just if they want to think about it?
What's that?
If they want to think about it.
That can group into the bottom one. If you want to cover that one, you're more than welcome to.
I keep getting this walk.
Maybe it's Mike's name alone. Don't, hey, make sure there's a closer at every day. Yeah, I know. Okay. All right. We'll use the bathroom real quick.
All right. And did he want you to do all 3 of them? Or just like pick one. Let's do the multi projects. Don't you guys do one? Different direction. Hey, Dana, your table, why don't you guys do the 2? Nick, why don't you guys do the bottom one? Here. And why don't you guys do the bottom one as well? These 2 a bit closer. And then Jerry?
So at number 3 is actually split up into 2. Price is higher than the other bids. Once you guys do that, I'll get a portion of it. Price is higher, so they've already got enough bids. I think that was it. Let me check again. This one? American home remodel. Jeremy, are you getting in there? What are you doing?
And then they went through and have almost.
And that's what I said. Experience tells me, right?
What's the context where you have?
The understanding I have with Case is that if you do need to take project, right. But if you could evaluate multiple projects under one. You can't have one. Right. Yeah, I mean, if they're both happening, being funded at the same time, it becomes way more. You know, what's that? A what? I'm sorry.
You have a second and third. Oh, you have two people playing.
Well,
like wide green, say, first.
No. I'm saying like, let's say you get a CalPERS, throw some computers and I'll go ahead and go solar and it's going to be doing solar based on your $60,000. pretty fortunate to go to the end of it's so money that you can do. But again,
We won San Diego's
a little bit greater because
We won San Diego's best. That might be a big deal.
you know, so it doesn't necessarily.
So the agreement with San Diego's
Yes. Like I said, it has to be, you know, everything needs to be like, I mean, that could be everybody. As long as the other project that they're doing is something that qualifies. You know. They're fancy granite tile. Irrigation. Also, it's a pretty tight window.
It's the convenience of payment inside of this. That's the convenience. That was the other thing I forgot. You can easily. So we can. The way I understand it, we can. I'm going to check on your taxes. So that window is yeah, right.
But that's, it got to the point where it's like, people say the same lie over and over and over again. Yeah, but it's like, it's good. You know, it's like, oh, they don't care.
Separate the two.
Yeah, what's a billion on the velocity? Yeah, so maybe all that project versus over the next 12 years.
That's what I was thinking coming up with more.
Or did you just want to do that?
You're gonna speak, right? All right, I'm gonna use the little boys when I come back, see where we're at. All right, if you're gone, then, especially you. I'm gonna add a lead out. Mark, lock the door. Just kidding. So just so you know, group, just so you know, these are the 3 questions I'm asking you. Right here. These are the 3 areas I'm asking you. Now that I had you guys talk about it, those are 3 areas I'm asking you about. How do you, number 1, did you reverse engineer it? How do you get ahead of that objection in the future? And then what would be causing that? Hey, I wanted you guys to do it first, and I would ask that. So maybe, yeah, maybe, where you guys some of
Well, they haven't written it down.
Is it the overall?
Yeah.
where do you have that information? Well, it's from the initial, when you're. That doesn't.
Ask questions, like, yeah, ask questions.
Don't put me in there.
They said that they didn't have the funds and they were wanting to close where they were going to do it. And that's what I said. That's what I said. So
We're planning now, I think, what we're trying to do is some questions.
sometimes I'm just asking around on my phone. Heard insurance.
The windows by the dumpster. Said that she wouldn't get a picture. And down here, they had the whole fucking thing where she talks about the manufacturers started blaming their customers that the windows were melting. A 38-inch beehive, 40-inch beehive. That's cool. Give everybody work on one.
So it's not like a.
All right, 15 minutes. We got some groups still working to go around.
I don't know anything about that.
Actually, no, because the door. You'd have to do, are people that are.
It's like, no, it got this, you know, architecture, next to this will be
Going into that nature.
Is it a vacation?
And if you guys are done while you're waiting, role play it. Practice, you can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
Mark, you have enough of us? I'm just seeing where everybody else is. So yeah, so that's huge. That's the, of course.
Well, actually,
Well, I'll just say, well, it's gonna be more than that. Right, so it's actually gonna be more than that. You know,
So,
I talked to some people, they just have based on decades. Contacts and things are a lot of there's no reason you can't have the race condition as the stage you go through. I so much just keep touching me. And you know what, I usually sit when you get to that. They usually do a section per year. So we'll do this guy in the house this year. Sometimes it's sooner, usually when they go up. Come back.
He's,
To their benefit. He did it all figured out. Unless we go into like 10 years. 10 years. Or maybe a peace program.
very smart.
So build more value.
These three are.
And then you have to like revisit kind of the staff, set all this stuff.
So if you miss any one of these, you should ask me
He obviously knows, right? He's gonna get to the position.
So I stepped outside.
What we get sometimes on the street, the one that you see out over the weekend, marketer that was selling a product, just in work, by the time they got it installed. So the battle was between the homeowners and the manufacturers. The manufacturers were poorly installed. Or no, for leaving it out, for leaving the homes because they thought they had less. These kind of stories help people realize that in this industry, what can go wrong. So they actually get reason for it. They get right back to that. 80% of homeowners are closed down. It's a problem.
Mark, how's everybody doing?
Good. Yeah, I think so. What do you mean?
So wrap up your final thought, and then we're gonna get up and basically share what we found out. And then try to end early, so you guys can look at payroll and other stuff.
Yeah. See all this later. We're doing, gotta get it close. I think those two all the time. Outside of one laters and no demos, I'm not including these two big ones. These two are kind of a close third. This one was multiple projects. Everybody's input. You think our presentations are all the time? You said you had to do well, you know, I think you're all gonna do it. If you're doing it, we will be the best. Just whoever's gonna do it.
No, it's whoever has the lowest level. Oh.
I get to pick which day. I think what that's what you're supposed to was.
I mark you architect. You know what? You architect. My architect.
Okay. One thing. What do I get? How do you want it to talk? All right, hey guys. Why don't you guys come up? All right, real quick, if I can get your attention. The front of the room, we got team one.
We didn't write the question.
You already know. Multiple projects. Okay, listen up.
All right, guys, no side talks.
So share your question and then kind of talk through.
Okay, so the question was multiple projects going on and they want to wait. So these were some of the things that we came up with to talk about. My thing is that each one of these basically leads to another objection. So they're basically questioning and then getting to the next question, to finally get to the root of what is keeping them from moving forward.
So what is it?
Multiple projects.
Well, so talking about like the fear of loss, that we've got this great promotion going on, it's 30-year anniversary, we've got this efficiency discount. Number one, getting them to buy in on that initially. You know, some customers are like, yeah, whatever, I know you guys are gonna give me the price later anyways, but at least giving them a good explanation so that they will buy in on it. And hey, look, I mean, if you wait a year, the prices are going to increase, the promotion isn't going to be there, you know, so talking about, you know, again, that whole fear of loss, that if you don't do it now, then it's going to end up costing you much more down the line, kind of thing. Talk about maybe, well, number one, getting an idea as to what the other projects are. It's useful to get that information up front in the discovery or the initial interview. Like, hey, have you done home improvement projects before? Have you been down this road? Or do you have anything that's on the list, and try to get an idea as to where windows fall into that, and trying to prioritize windows in that process. Like Mark was saying, you know, hey, we're going to redo the kitchen. It's like, well, if you're going to put a granite countertop top back here or backsplash or something, you really should have the window in first before you do that, because cutting out the granite, you know, is going to be a pain. Or I'm putting new flooring in. That's great. We work with a lot of people that have existing flooring, but it would be better to go ahead and do the door first and then come back and do the flooring, just so that you know that it's going to be a seamless thing, to try to, again, make it seem like, you know, hey, let's do windows first. We also talked about starter packages. You know, I mean, as much as it sucks to go in and if they want all the windows and you have to leave with one or two, at least kind of getting your foot in the door, specifically the one in the kitchen or the sliding glass door or something like that, to again, just kind of get the foot in the door, so that we can come back in a year or two, maybe complete the project when it is more of a priority. We talked a little bit about return on investment. Things like, you know, energy efficiency savings. You know, hey, yeah, I know you want to wait a year, but if you did it now, this is how much money you could save over the next year. In utility costs, you know, so add that on to the overall savings, not to mention the fact that our prices go up every year. They do. It's just natural inflation. So coming back in 2 years, I mean, meeting me today to do a project 2 years down the line isn't going to be very useful for you, because the prices aren't going to be the same. You know, so getting kind of their buy-in on that. The other thing we talked about is maybe possibly tying in other projects into one investment portfolio, like a PACE project. If they're doing other energy efficiency programs or projects, maybe there's a way that you can get, you know, instead of $30,000 from PACE, let's see if we can get you $60,000 and do the solar and the windows, you know, and have it all in kind of one package. It's gray, and it is a challenge to do that, but at least, you know, we're trying to reach for some things, you know, to say, or ways to do it. Yeah, I think that was pretty much it. You know, I mean, it's more than anything just trying to get at least them to start on something, you know, to look, you're not going to get these discounts in a year. The prices are going to be different. You know, I understand why you're wanting to do it this way, but, you know, really windows should be higher up on that list of things that you want to do as far as overall savings and benefit goes. Yes. Okay.
So, Dan, great job today, buddy. You know, as soon as we're done remodeling our kitchen, you know, then we'll give you a call and get it going. But, you know, right now, we're not going to do anything. You know, we're anticipating a big spend on the kitchen. And then windows are the next on the list.
Yeah. Well, so we're replacing the one in the kitchen? Is that part of the package? I believe that was on the list, right?
Yeah, it was one on the list.
Okay. So what are you guys doing on the kitchen? Like,
There's one of the designs up in the area. You know, meet them again next week to kind of talk about what we're finalizing that. So that window might change, it might stay the same, but I'm not quite sure.
so one of the biggest challenges with windows in kitchens particularly is the material of the backsplash and the countertops and so forth. And remember how we talked about the different options as far as like a retrofit window versus you know, the reflash. A lot of times it's a challenge to do a reflash on existing situations with kitchens. So it really would, for your benefit, to make sure that we get the proper installation done when the time comes, to focus in specifically maybe on just that one in the kitchen, so that remodel is all done. You're wanting to redo this area, you know, so not just this, but also this. Let's just get this part done, and then we can come back and we can focus on the others down the line. Let me show you what it would look like just to do this one.
So what, first off, anyone got anything else to add?
Yeah, what do you guys think when you get this?
We get started with this one window, you lock in the discount, you're not losing anything by not doing all of it at once. We can come back and finish up the project for you. You've already said you're gonna move forward with us, you're gonna call me back, so we can get your commitment on this one window. And of course, we can then.
It's the right angle back.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes back to the, I remember one time we both played with Jerry and, you know, oh, I promise we're gonna do it. Well, we have packages for.
Right,
people
I remember that too.
We're gonna lock in this.
Put your
one
money where your
window.
mouth is.
Right.
If it's not changing, you know, like by feet, it doesn't look like it's probably going to because the design that you shared with me. This price is, let's just lock in this one and then it's locking in the discount for all the future.
For the next 2 years, yeah, we talked about that too. So, but I mean, probably more than anything, I mean, especially if it's like a kitchen or a bathroom remodel, it's like, why do you want to do 90% of the kitchen or 80% of the bathroom remodel? I mean, this is part of it. This window is part of it. It's going to happen. Let's get it all done. And you're going to get a much better installation if we can pull all the old frame out and everything like that, and without having to come out and cut out the granite countertop to make room for it, or do an inferior installation because of that, you know.
Well, you also solidify, you also solidify up front by reverse engineering the questions. If this concern is part of their priority, they want you to know that they want this remodel.
Right.
You tell them a window is part of the remodel.
It's part of the remodel, yeah.
That way they don't think anything else.
Right.
It's got to go along with that.
Right.
So if it gets done first, it's a lot easier after the fact to wrap in whatever tile, whatever core, you know, whatever you decided.
Right.
It's actually creating a better seal. So I feel that, would you feel that the window should come in first?
Yeah. But we talked about when the time comes, you want to make sure you're doing the right, proper installation, you know. There's some challenges to do that with the existing situation, so.
You tell them that it is part of
Right.
the remodel.
Where I would have a difficult time is what you were saying, this, like, well, we got an architect that actually put together the kitchen, we don't know what size the windows are.
Yeah, that's a circumstance.
That's where the challenge is, like, okay.
Yeah, maybe, and then again, if you get something like that, maybe you find another window that is a priority, you know?
We'd say, kind of share with you, make it going larger. And you thought about that possibly first, going larger.
Yeah. You know, it's gonna cost 18 grand, right, to put in a header here.
Yeah, you let them know. Well, that's the word.
We'll work with the architect.
Yeah, right. But yeah, and educating them more on, hey, do you have any idea what that's gonna cost? You know, I mean, you need, what kind of research have you done so far?
Where are you gonna fish?
I ran into this once. I think I earned the business because in the inspection, they revealed to me they were going to remodel the kitchen. So I explained what the 1-inch cutback process is. So I really emphasized, you know, we're going to take out all your existing hard surfaces and we're going to get this in. So no matter what you do when you do the remodel, whenever that takes place, we're prepping it for that.
Right.
And I think that's how I earned the business in that scenario because.
Right. And just like exactly like Dana said, it's like you're remodeling the kitchen. You're not just doing it's let's look at the whole space and this window is part of it. Now, what do you want? You want like stained wood, you know? I mean,
I like the prep because then no matter what is wrapped in, you have prepped that area correctly.
If you explain the 1-inch cutback, no one else is talking, no other window company is going near that. So you're setting it up so there's no other way for them to do it.
Right.
Well, and you're becoming a professional.
Yeah.
You don't do that anymore.
And again, it's,
What is
So, you
it?
know, I got my.
The drywall, we don't.
we don't do drywall cutbacks, not with the reflash.
Don't promise that.
This must have been when we did it. So.
That was that one problem when we've all heard about, yeah, we know.
I think there's a couple things looking at this, that just listening to you guys talk, which I love the list, you know, put me on the list, just get your brain going, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting in groups like that, get your brain going, start thinking, think outside the box a little bit about how to get there. Don't forget, when you get into that scenario, especially if they tell you that they loved everything, don't forget to isolate the objection.
Yep.
Right? So make sure first thing you have to do is isolate that that's the real objection and nothing else. Because I'd say, well, you know, curiosity kills a cat right here. You know, you're going to be redoing your entire kitchen, which congratulations on that. You know. Actually, what puts you in position when you remodel your kitchen? And I've tried to find this out early, but if I
Sure.
forgot to and I got stuck at the end here, then I would say,
Like, oh, you are?
yeah, so I mean, like, what puts you in a position where you're not in your kitchen anyway?
Yeah.
And I try to find out what their wants are. And if you're gonna try again, sell that window, I'd say, you know, the one thing about it, I couldn't agree with you more, I think it's gonna be gorgeous in here, but, you know, the one focal point that keeps staring at this entire kitchen is that window. And that window in here is gonna be the focal point, which I think if you don't pick the right window, is gonna be the make or break of your entire kitchen. Can you see what I'm talking about? And really paint a picture for them and get them like bought into it.
Right.
Because you're getting them emotionally charged into it, then they take it as part of the kitchen.
Right.
But
You gotta get them talking about, hey, so what kind of cabinets? What are you doing? What kind of colors?
the other thing about it is I said, well, let me ask you, I'm not being a pride, when you do a kitchen project like this, some of you guys, you know, refinance a house and you're taking out a loan for, how'd you guys plan on paying for it? You know, don't forget, maybe you can switch them into on the windows, doing a starter package or something, because you're utilizing your financing, and not whether they're doing nothing at all. Because what a lot of times people think when they got multiple projects going on, is how am I gonna have all the money to pay for it, right? So what a lot of customers do in a situation like yours is, you know, taking on a large project, you know, congratulations that you can do that. So when you think about windows, how far down the road do you think that's gonna be? You're thinking 3 months, 6 months, a year down the road, what do you think you're gonna get to? And try to tag them into a time frame, and then I need to set a time frame based on comfort, right? So if they're not paying any interest for, you know, 36 months, or, you know, we got a 24-month no interest, no payment program, or 12 months, whatever's rolling into there.
Right.
You never know when that time frame is.
Right.
That's why I say the objection is still taking it back down to the money is going to be your best bet to help that. I love all the direction you guys are going about making the window part of the remodeling project. But sometimes you might be.
Sometimes it's flooring though.
Yeah, sometimes you might be putting words in the mouth. On flooring, by the way, when they're taking a flooring up next to a door, you should never, ever let them do flooring without selling that window. Can I share with you one of the biggest mistakes we walk into, a lot of people after they've done their flooring do? What do you mean? Can I share that with you? Is it okay? Good. So the biggest mistake people make when they're doing their floors, they try to butt the floor up to the existing old door, right? Unfortunately, you're not gonna find a door in the world that's basically 2¼ inches like the current one is. Door gonna come in. And you don't want your new door sitting on top of your floor, do you? No, not to mention if it leaks, where's that gonna come right back up underneath, right? So then you can kind of scare the shit out of them on the new door, and why it's important to the door before the floor is gigantic. Or they just had a brand new floor. Then you talk about our flashing process to make sure that stuff's not coming into it.
Last thing you just damage your floor.
Yeah. Make it feel so unique on things that they don't talk about or they're not thinking about. You know, it's not just dollar and cents. It's about why that area is unique or why this project's unique. And not to mention, if they're coming down on a kitchen, you know, that's a want, right? Not a need. Right. That's a want, not a need. So sometimes in the right situation, if you did a good job in your inspection and you do an energy audit, showing basically, what you call it, energy abuse, basically, showing basically the energy audit, how much they're already paying for the utilities, and then throw that back in front of their face so they start seeing all the money that's falling out of their pockets. And their kitchen isn't costing them anything right now, maybe inconvenience. What, they want more drawers or more cabinets or better cooking space. But 5 years from now, what's that kitchen gonna look like, right? You know, your windows though, if you put it back in through here, you can stop the bleeding now. Because you already tell you you're paying $60,000 to heat and cool your house for the next 5 years, right? Or basically the next 10 years.
Right.
So if we can do something about this now, wouldn't you consider this more of a need than a want?
Yeah, that's where we were going with like the return on investment idea.
Take
concept.
the needs and the wants. I just want somebody here. That's it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Good.
All right, thanks, man. Thank you.
Hey, sorry, Charlie. Let me get you lined up here.
Thanks, Mark.
Sit
down. Sit down.
The chairman.
Jeremy, you must stand.
I mean, I'm right here, right? I mean,
Every part of it.
yeah, go ahead. Oh,
Right.
I got a back issue, you know, just working through it.
As if we were given promised a pre-quote that's good for a year and they want to wait. And so we reverse engineered that. People at our table hadn't received that as an objection at the closing, but we thought, why would that come about? And these are some of the steps we thought would prevent that. Proper warm-up and expectations set. In other words, Mr. Homeowner, when you made this appointment, what did they tell you about my presentation and the price? Didn't tell me a thing. Okay, I'm going to be able to give you 3 prices today. The first one is a 12-month price. That's our full retail price. You go through that, and what promotion did you call about? Did you call about a promotion? Yes, no, you validate it. And then you talk about how we present to everyone the same opportunity because of opportunity cost. And many of our clients want to engage us on the first visit. So we'll offer that to you if it's appropriate. Remind me at the end of the presentation. So if you talk about why they're getting a free quote for a year and then the other 2 quotes, and you make them valid, you can probably put this aside. Explain equality and pricing. In other words, we do this for everyone. This isn't a shtick. It's not a gimmick to apply high pressure to you, the discount at the end. That's not what it's about. We offer the same thing to everyone. Why did you call me here today if you're...
You know, Phil Ray, which used to be like a closing guru back in the day, for this thing called Masterminds. He had this quote that I love on that equality and pricing. He says, John Ray, fortunately, we live in an industry where there's more unqualified contractors out there trying to do work than there are quality contractors, right? Your quality contractors are so busy and our workload is piled up so high, we just don't have time to make multiple trips in our industry. Therefore, that's why we give you the opportunity while we're at the house with the investment to make sure you can take advantage of that. Whether you choose to or not, it does cost us money to come back. So just realize we want to do nothing more than to help you. But again, we have to cancel somebody to come back. That's why I stole that whole thing. And it's pretty good stuff. And you think about that though, because think about San Diego itself. Right? I posted something on the stream. Did you guys see the post I put on the stream?
Scotty Walker?
About about basically the window, like this owner of a remodeling company had windows melting inside
I read it to
her
their customer
customer's
yesterday.
house, right? And 4 sashes were melting. Well, the manufacturer was blaming the homeowner that their windows were melting inside the house and wouldn't do anything about it.
Because they didn't take them out of the wrapping.
Yeah.
Right.
So basically, then they
They're melted. Let's put them in.
they put them. She took all the
Yeah, they
windows
put
and
them
put
in
them by the
installed.
dumpster, took a picture and explained the whole story back behind it, which I posted on the stream. It's pretty damn powerful stuff. So if you really think about that, you know, spreading that price up front, if you do a good job sharing with them, and you gotta have the attitude is, we don't need your business, we value it. But you have to basically present it in a way that doesn't sound cheesy. You can't be stepping on your words. You gotta have it down pat. And I think that is key to set how you begin is how you end. I think it's key to setting yourself up that it's not pressure. So just let you know, just like you kind of muttered out through there, just let you know, Lamar.
I muttered, yeah.
Just like just like the rest of our customers who call us off direct mail or any of the other advertisements through there, we're giving you the same opportunity we give them. Right? We're not discriminating just because somebody knocked on your door and you tell me you're probably not ready to move forward. Here's the opportunity we give you. We give you 3 different investments today, yada, 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 yada. Then go down to that initial savings, same way we always do it. And then you're setting the tone up to where they feel like they're getting a fair shot and the same shot everyone else is getting. Whether they choose to take advantage of it in their head at that point or not, that's what the inspection is designed to do. And I'm going to show them out.
But setting that expectation is the warm-up. Right. You can knock this challenge out or objection out if you're addressing what you're supposed to. You're asking your commitment questions. How important is this project to you? Where is it on the list of priorities? Is it at the top? Do you have any other projects going on? Because you can hit on all of that stuff just as during your warm-up. And if they throw out at you, they said that I would get a quote for a year. Well, of course, everybody gets a quote before they purchase. Before they move forward, of course, I'm going to get you a price before we move forward. And you can also just kind of ask them why is it that I'm out here right now if you're not planning on doing this in a year? These prices, everything is going to be completely different in a year. So that kind of tells me this is a little bit more important than what you kind of are telling me. There's a reason that I'm here. So you get them to move from the year, and again, people don't like to be sold, and that's just a smokescreen.
You're there for a reason. If they just wanted a price, John and Mary, here you go. I just typed in, or voice memo, and average cost of a replacement window in San Diego. It took me 1 minute to do that. You could have found this out without me being here. So what's the fundamental reason that I'm here? And then bring the pain.
Bring the pain. Bring the pain, baby. This is usually a proximity objection.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what I said, but you can at least move that proximity from a year. If you do your inspection, you are probably going to, earn their business. If you're showing them all the problems that could happen inside and out, you're moving that. Because again, when it comes down to, people don't like to be sold, and they don't want a salesperson to come into their house and sell them. It's what it comes down to. There's a need for us to be there. Like Dustin said, you walk by your water heater every single day until it does something that you need to fix it. You walk by these windows every day, John and Mary or whatever. Why today? Why am I here today if you're not going to do anything in a year? Does that even make sense for me to be here right now if you're not going to do this in a year? Inflation, cost of supply and demand. We're the number one remodeling company. We're going to grow and grow. Do you think my prices are going to be cheaper in a year than they are today? Let me share with you what we have for you today. Whatever. You just move on. You get that objection out. But doing your warm up, you can find all this out up front.
Exactly.
Do you think the biggest reason why people say that, they're scared that they can't afford it?
Yeah.
Don't you think that's it? Because why would they let you out unless they're scared they can't afford it? That's the whole reason they're telling you a year, because it's a stall, because financially they don't think they're ready.
What did you say earlier with the neighbors? No, but it makes sense.
Yeah, so I addressed the three
$7,000
prices at the beginning of every, once the warm up is done, I just say, look, I mean, at Dreamstyle, we have a lot of reps in San Diego. We have a lot of reps in 6 different states around the country. We try to approach all of our appointments the same way. Every person we go see gets 3 different prices. One of them is going to be a price that's good for a year, and then I just break it down for them. And then I say, and then you're going to get a 30-day price, and you're going to get a price that's good for now. Listen, when you're a company this big, the only thing you can do is try to treat everybody the same, but we can't predict when you guys are going to be ready to do your project, whether your neighbor's going to be ready tomorrow and we go see him, or whether you're 30 days out or a year. We don't want you guys to be taking out the trash on the same day and be mad because one person paid $7,000 less than you did. So listen, at the end of this, I am going to give you 3 different prices. You are going to have a chance to pick one of those prices, which is going to work best for you. The 1-year price is obviously just going to be inflation protection for you. So if it calls back in 11 months and now you're ready to go, we'll give you whatever discounts we have available for you then. Your 30-day bid's going to be based on whatever marketing you have for me. Maybe you've saved a couple. We can go through them, see which one works. Maybe I can get an approval for one that's a little outdated. If it's better than the current one, we'll see what we can do. The other one's going to be ready for what 50% of the people that call us are ready for, which is they're ready to do their project now. Whether they've had other estimates and then they have other estimates planned and they see us and they like us and they want to go with us, that's great. That's going to be your opportunity to get the best price from us, from the best company, from the largest company in the area. And move on. And that's pretty much
That
like
sounds really
very
obvious,
close to
doesn't
what
it?
I do. And then sometimes I'll be like, if they're like younger or something, or if they're into like things and you can tell, I'll be like, and this is what also helps us get a 4.8 on social media. I'm sure you look like people who did your research before I came out. So you probably see that all of these sites, we have a 4.8. And that's because we approach things and treat everybody the same way. Whether you live in Rancho Santa Fe or Chula Vista, you're going to get the exact same treatment.
I also do the when I walk in and do the warm up, how long you been here, beautiful home, all that stuff. Well, it sounds like you guys are ready to move forward, because if you were just still thinking about it, you have already visited our showroom and you have already done your research on social media. So it sounds like we're past the thinking point and we're ready to do. We're ready to open Pandora's box.
Okay, next is what?
Why'd you call me here?
Yeah.
Dana.
I've heard that about like 3 times. So what's down the next one?
Proper price impressioning. Because if they're giving you this at the end, it's just like you said, we can't afford it. Oh, we're going to save up. We want to pay cash. And it's, if you,
Price impression.
pardon me?
No, I'm sorry.
No.
Talking out loud. Go ahead.
If they have been properly price impression, they're not going to be that surprised at what you come out with at the end. So why would they wait a year? They might want to, then you focus on payments and not the price.
Well, and then that's tying into your, I'm sorry, I'm just talking a lot as usual.
No, it's good.
That's tying into your presentation, your PowerPoint. When it comes down to your Kelly Blue Book and that section where all those popped in there, you know, folks, this is fact. This is your 30 bids that you want to get. This is all compiled into one. So why waste your time? I just gave you your, not only 3 or 4 bids, I just gave you 30. So if an average cost is this and it's right here, why would you waste your time? Does that make sense to you?
What about urgency in the inspection?
Build the pain in the, inside and outside inspection, especially if it's proximity, you're building it from a year to hopefully earning their business that day.
And the fear of loss of losing today's discount. Sean taught me a good one about this tiered pricing because I've heard it several times. Well,
Can I tell you something real quick?
Yes.
Tiered pricing is your setup in the beginning, but if you get down to the end, right, and you're still getting hit with it, the purpose is that you might not have just not sold it just because you missed the tiered pricing. That's not the whole reason you're not going to sell. That's just setting the expectation, right? So what tools can you use in that year time frame? If they're thinking a year, what are the tools you can use? I mean, number one on the bottom to me is gigantic because people like that, they didn't save up a pile of cash, right? Especially proximity events said it 1,000 times. You walk into it, you can't expect them to break out their checkbook and write a check. About 10% of the time, maybe that might work, right? Which is very little. So you look at that aspect, these people, just like a roof, like when roofs happen, most time insurance companies come to roof because people don't save up money to do roofs, right? So, but yet 5% of the market's always in place for a roof. So when you look at that aspect, you have to make sure they don't financially know. And at the beginning, they're going to stall you every way possible because they look in their checkbook, they might have $1,000 in their check. I got no business fucking buying windows, but that guy knocked on the door. I know we need them, so let's see what they got to cost. I get it, we can't afford it. Let's see what they got to cost. I know, but we can't afford it. Yeah, it's a year out.
That's bullshit.
So that's it. That's their stall, right?
Right.
Their stall is when you hear this thing in the customer's mind, it's another way to say, basically, I need to think about it. That's all it is. I need to think about it because I can't afford it yet. You haven't showed me how to pay for it that makes sense. You haven't showed me why I need it, right? Why is my ass lit on fire to where I can't wait 6 months to another year to 2 more years down the road? What do my utility bills cost me? What proper pain and dysfunction and dissatisfaction is coming? What about my inspection caused me to have my ass lit on fire to where I can't wait another day? Because again, if we're not doing that, and we are literally just making them feel good, going to measure their windows and design them all, sure, that's pretty, but I'm selling the 3 receptors of the brain, not basically 8, right? So again, I'm not spending the time focusing on what I need to. Because like back in the day, I can tell you that proximity events, even though I give you guys credit, our closing percentage has gone from like 14 to like 33 this month, which is phenomenal on this. But it's still that basically objection strikes a nerve with me because it's the same thing as I want to think about it because you haven't shared with them how to buy it, right? Remember, if they don't kick you out at list price, they're asking you what? How to buy. So you just haven't found a way to make it affordable. And if I catch anyone's ass, this is only been the only negative thing, walking into a house and not showing fucking a payment, I will fire your ass immediately because you deserve it. Because again, people need to buy payments. That's the whole key of our entire business is payments. 65% of everything we sell is finance, right? That means if you don't do that, you're trying to sell to that small group of basically 35% of the population. When you need to be selling to 65% of the population, because then you're going to be at minimum 30, you're not going to be fighting around in this teens. If you're fighting around the teens, check yourself back, reverse engineer it. How many times and how many payments am I showing? Am I really comforting it down? What do I need energy on it? What's my inspection look like? How's my price impressioning? What are these things, right? Because if you really look at it, sometimes you might run into situations which happen once every couple months. But for the overall, if you just do what you're supposed to be doing, what you're trained on, it's not that fucking hard. Excuse my language, it's not. And like that stuff right through here, what I love about this group coming up here is, Mark Lance, I'd like you to chip in more.
I'm not even sure.
But basically the whole thing is they nail it. Price impression, proper payments, set the expectation up front, and the inspection.
I want no part of that. I didn't write that.
That's your key to that. That's your key to that whole thing. You know, the first one's a little tougher. This one here, That's not a real objection.
No.
That's not a real objection at all. That's a stall. And if you write that in your report and you're honestly thinking that's a good objection the customer gave you, so that's like them getting out of the house saying, well, I want to think about it. If you're letting them out of the house, I want to think about it. That's, it's either the company, the price, or the payment. The other three reasons they need to think about. There's nothing else, right? I'd much rather hear they say they can get it cheaper somewhere else. Would have been a hell of a lot better objection to be covering than basically some of these things. So when I read these are the three things, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So
Wait,
that's
this
why.
is one of the.
What's that?
Wait, this
Well,
is something
the
people actually
reason that
were
a lot of
saying?
people want to wait is they don't, and it's our job, they don't realize what all could be going wrong with what they actually have. They just don't know. They might think they're just normal windows, but when you start bringing the pain, they're like, whoa, shoot, I can't wait a year on this. I had no idea.
How far back do these excuses go?
Yeah.
Is this from the last 30 days? Is it from the last year?
This is the last 30 days. Last
So
30
look at your proximity results over that period and what's changed, and that's probably why this is up there so high.
Yep. So I had Mark do this little diagnosis and I looked at it. So I haven't dug in as deep as I had Mark dig into. But he said these three things he read into were put in there multiple, like the most used are what these three were.
Excuses when we're discoing?
Yeah.
Specifically for proximity or just?
Specifically for all.
I don't.
Yes, just for DNS.
I haven't.
These were the top reasons.
Well, then we also looked at the ones that were for the people that were closing at a high clip this month, and they weren't even worth sharing because they were like, can't afford it. Basically, told me a blank no. That
No
whole type of
demos,
thing.
one leg.
Which you would much rather hear a friggin' flat out no rather than nice and neat to the front
There's
door.
no such thing as VBAC plus. I repeat it back again. Your VBACs are less than 10% of your entire business ever for an entire year. And you take 10% of 30% close, that's 3%, right? If you take 3% of your business, you can count on coming back to you. If not, you're getting knifed out of the house. And just like a kid, when you study for a test, I know I use it in the close, but it's so freaking true. And you study for a test, everyone studies right before they take it, so everything's fresh on their mind. The second you leave, so did the reason they're buying. And the fact they're going to call you back 3 or 4 days later at a 10% higher price tag and basically come back and pay that much more money to learn less and now know less than they learned the first time, that's not fair to them and it's not fair to you. The fair thing is they're just trying to be nice to you and nice you out of the house. So you got to realize the difference between being nice out of the house and a blank no. If I got a payment, let me ask you, John and Mary, is it $343 a month? How's that fit in your budget? And they tell me it doesn't. So you're talking about $275, $300. Which one of those fits better in your budget? Well, $275. So great. So it sounds like to me, $275 is the only reason we couldn't move forward as long as we could fit that in the budget. Is that correct? Is that it? Nothing else? Boom. Then isolate down that objection, right? You got to isolate the objection. You get down the root because the root would be the money. Sometimes the root is the other project, which is a tough one. I give you that one, right? Or basically they filed bankruptcy and they don't want to admit it to you. So there's different avenues to pull this stuff out. But looking at it, that one's disheartening to me. It's just because it means what happened is we're using the scape and trying to blame the lead rather than blaming the system, right? Where did we fall short of the system? It's not the lead sucks. It's we sucked in that lead.
Sounds like they just didn't like you, really.
Could have been.
A lot of times they're buying you.
Promised a free quote.
I mean,
sometimes they're buying
it might be that. I mean, it's like
that's like the no.
It's like I had to talk. It's like I had to talk with a rep. I was like, well, don't lose you. If you lose you in the presentation, there's no point in doing the presentation because they buy you, right? Presentation is a tool designed to help you get to the end without missing deals. But again, it's a tool. But again, like me hearing that should be saying, all right, guys, I understand you're still a year out, right? You just wanted to price it in time. Let me ask you, we went back during the inspection and we talked about this, and this, right? And on this appointment, looked like you were already paying $500 a month for utilities. So look at, you're paying this, and this. Are you okay continue to keep paying that, knowing you're paying for your windows already, but you're not getting anything done about it, just paying SCG&E? With that 28% gas hike that's going on right now, basically where they're going to do that over the next 5 years, you can count on that $500 bill being $715, right? Or whatever the hell it would be. So are you okay not improving your house at all, but still paying basically for the windows over $200 more, which is over $2,000 a year? You're paying extra just to do the same exact thing you're doing now. Not using any more energy, any less energy, basically just continue to keep doing the same thing over and over again. You know what they say, Einstein's definition of sanity is, right? Repeat the same thing over and over again, expect a different result. So let's look at this thing and peel it back, right? Maybe you can't afford to do everything at once, but we need to at least get started. Because think about it, you said you've been thinking about doing this for 4 years, right? You'd have done just 2 windows a year. We'd already taken care of 8 of your windows, which would reduce the cost that we're talking about today, right? You already have 8 windows done, and to reduce the cost we're talking about today, because you've done nothing, and you've been dealing with the same stuff, because again, let's face it, we put the blinders on stuff, right? Kind of like you talked about walking by the hot water heater. We know the hot water doesn't get as hot as it does. We know it's been leaking for basically a year now. We've just put off trying to get it done because we're used to it. Does it mean it's right? Probably not. It comes down to 3 things. Do you need it? Do you want it? And really, can you afford it? That's it. Nothing else. And it sounds like to me, it's probably the 3rd one that's keeping us from moving forward, right? So let me ask you, how much too much is the $373 a month? So you get into that aspect, it's about finding it, right? But if you don't work on this stuff and you just try to attach it, once you hit an objection like that, once or twice a month, it's going to eat you alive, right? Remember, it's not what we eat, it's what eats us, right? And we let that stuff eat us alive. That's what happens as we get into it. And you that don't know and can't understand it, good job to you. It means you can't comprehend it because it doesn't run into you. But some of us, it does. And don't be, if you're new or basically struggling, don't be embarrassed to say you're dealing with it. That's stupid. Don't be embarrassed. No, because everyone's dealt with stuff,
Or
right?
if we're not you.
No, there's times a month Jeremy and I talk about, he's like, what the fuck? I'm doing it. I know I'm doing it, right? Same thing as Dana, same thing as everybody. So you run into it. Everybody has problems and struggles, right? It might be something you already know what to do, but you're missing it, or you forgot it, or you moved away from it because you haven't done it so often, right? So that's it. So again, if you run into it, don't be embarrassed to share it with somebody. If you don't want to share it with me, don't be embarrassed to share it with one of your accountability partners. Get into it and ask for help. Because the worst thing you can do is have that happen to you not once, but twice, but then the 3, 4, or 10 times because you don't know how to overcome it. This deal is fall on the sword, say, hey, here's what I'm running into. How do I get past this? Because I promise you that we got enough tools and resources and brain power in this room. I think any of us can overcome it, and one of us can walk into a house anytime and sell that house. At least one of us can inside.
One thing I didn't hear you say though is that when you're doing the inspection and you're seeing the cracks and stuff that you see on almost every window, it's just driving in the point. We don't know what's underneath there. And fortunately, it hasn't gotten too bad yet, but you don't want it to get any worse than that.
So then stop them and say, so unfortunately, I'm just going to tell you guys right now, our 1-year bid is going to be completely irrelevant to you.
Because you don't know what's going to be going on inside your house.
You're 30
days.
You're either
Let's have this
30 days
corrected
today
in
or
30 days.
Listen to her. She's brand spanking new, but hear what she was just saying? That's the gospel right there.
It's like, if they wonder, they're lucky those proximity guys came over because you're catching this before it gets worse. If you don't know what's going to be going on here, it could be bad. It doesn't look that bad right now, but that's because
She's closing 65% on proximity because she doesn't know the difference. She doesn't care. That's good.
Well, sometimes I've asked my customers, what would happen right now if we were sitting here and your faucet just sprung a leak? What would you do? Go out, call and get it fixed. You'd get it fixed for that first person that walked through the door because it's instant. You do realize that as much money as that would have cost you, your windows are leaking that much money as well, but it's just invisible.
Like the picture of the brick missing out of the house, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing. I'm shutting up. Thank you guys.
Okay, so we got 10 minutes, so we got time for team 3.
That's fine.
3 and 4 had the same objection.
3 and 4 is pretty much the same.
Yeah, kind of the same. So,
well, team 3 and team 4 come up, and then team 3 hit it, and then team 4 hit it. And hopefully in your guys' individual groups, you guys got a lot too.
she writes bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, double figure.
All right, so we gotta go quick. We had the beginning of number 3, which is getting other quotes, assuming we're the first in the house, which happened a lot because we have a quick response time. And so one of the things I like to do, and we agreed on, is try to isolate the differences for them, so that when they're considering who else would come out, whether it's a box store or the Window Worlds or whoever, what's the difference that they need to acknowledge. So 3 things that I like to just throw at people that they can actually bite into is that there's no subcontractors, installations included in the warranty, not a product only warranty, and no retrofit. And usually people can't bite into 10 things, so I try to keep it to 3. Good. And yeah, I even think it'd be smart if we had like some sort of laminated card that we could slap on the desk so it's staring at them. And then change their paradigm that cheap is not good for their home. So certain things we spend money on, like tires, mattresses, food. You don't want to just eat trash food all the time. Windows and home remodels should be the same, because you could put yourself in a spot where you're downgrading the value of your home or whatever, if you're putting in something real cheap. Because you can basically name your price on Windows. So it's not always that cheap is good. So I think that's a thing to flip. And then the one that you always go to, you have to pick between this. You can get the best quality product, best service and guarantees, or the best price. Really, you have to pick either the top 2 or the bottom 1. You can't really mix and match. And then kind of ask them to be realistic about what they'd give up between those things. Is it quality or price? And third-party information. Mike was talking a lot about a kill book, which would include warranties highlighted, price points, installation methods, etc. And a little thing that I found on money.com, where they're just talking about retrofit and cheap windows aren't really what you want to do if you want to either maintain or increase the value of your home. And then I'll let somebody else jump in on the 3 questions.
Good job, bud.
Okay.
All solid ones.
We're kind of talking about here is reverse engineering, and it's real important. Why they object is that we haven't got the trust and we haven't built the value in. So that's kind of the one big thing we thought with reverse engineering, is that we haven't got to that point there. Not confident in us, still think they can get the same value and window and for the same price. So that's what's going through their mind. The 2 is what I promised.
These were the questions. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
these are
What is
tap
a
the
reverse
screen.
engineer?
Tap the screen.
Right. Price impression. This
And
is
tap the.
this is stuff that we can do to eliminate the problems. Is price impression, the kill book.
Tap.
Sorry.
Spacebar. Almost. There you go.
How'd you get ahead of the objections? Okay. The price impression, the kill book we talked about, if they start talking about other companies and what they do or don't do. Proof, money.com we talked about, and cost versus value. The third was what's causing them distrust, fear in making a decision right away, and the price.
Sticker shot. That's actually a really good list.
Mhm.
That's a really good list. And the money.com thing, if somebody could take that article and screenshot it and put it on the, or link it to the thing, I think that'd be interesting for everyone to see.
You did.
I thought you did.
I did. Yeah, I can do it again.
Send it back out again.
Yeah. All right, team 4, pop yours out real quick. Good job, guys. Good lift. Team 4. Let's go, Cynthia. You're closing. You're on fire. Let's go.
Okay, so the price is too high. I think we really were focusing on that. If they say the price is too high, the close, it's just that there was a problem in the inspection, like somewhere you missed something. So we were talking just about like building price impression early into the presentation, and I think that's something that I started doing lately. Is just kind of like I don't do it every time, but just dropping some kind of number, like, your windows are going to cost you 30 grand. So, you might want to do this in phases. Just something like that. So they're not like thinking it was going to be 5,000 and it's 30,000. Just kind of like throw out a number that's kind of high, maybe even earlier than what, higher than what you think it's going to be. And then kind of doing phases. So if, you know, if we're looking at like 1,500 to 2,000 a window, you might want to do this in phases. And then just building more value into it, that we don't do retrofit, that we have the lifetime warranty, that Pella is the #1 in consumer reports, and Dreamstyle is #1. We just won the best of San Diego. Our products are the best, our materials are the best. Just like really, you know, hitting that a lot in the inspection. So building the value so that when we get to the end, they don't say anything about the price is too high. Just really doing everything to avoid that up front. You guys want to throw anything in?
We kind of broke it down into, one is what probably caused the fact that they said the price was too high, because we failed in our presentation to build that value, to price impress. Also, something I realize I haven't been as good at as I want to be, and that is to really paint the picture, to generate the feelings by asking questions. How do you think that's going to look? And, you know, how's that going to impact and stuff with what our solution is going to offer them to, again, continue to build that value on an emotional level. And then the second part, Sean, maybe you want to address, and that if we've gotten to the point we blew it, now they're talking about the price is too high, what we can do then to respond to that.
I think that's probably the same with all of these, which is, you know, isolate, get down to the dollars, and sell plastic. And Mike can sell plastic.
Non-inverted.
Yeah, non-inverted.
But, yeah, Cynthia mentioned how much were you expecting, you know, kind of going back through this whole spiel again. I just think once I'm getting a lot of pushback in the close, I just missed something in my presentation. And
We're trying to scramble at the end.
Yeah,
to pick up the pieces.
I think the biggest key to that is building value, and then you won't get the prices too high. The price is not too high. The price is just higher than they think their windows are worth.
It's higher than their perceived value that you built.
Right. So
Yeah.
if they think their windows are more expensive than the price you're showing them, it's not going to matter what the price is.
I saw something, I was at Mission Bay the other day, and
You guys can sit down. Thank you, guys. Go ahead.
someone was getting 4 doors replaced, and it looked like such a huge remodel. I was just thinking, if you show customers pictures of right in the middle of the installation, then they kind of think of it as a construction job more than just a window.
Absolutely. So, you know, the cool thing about this whole mix in here is all the objections. If you really realize it, what you guys really caught on hard at the end is most of these stuff happened because we missed something in the presentation, right? So that's why I was talking about reverse engineering. You don't want to have to be the best closer. You want to be the best presenter, right? And that being the best presenter is a lot easier than being the best closer, because when you got to get that good at closing, that creates a lot of cancels. Creates a lot of basically rescissions, things like that we don't want to get into. So what I love is when we almost look dumbfounded when we see objection because we're not used to hearing it. That's how good we need to get, right? Because again, people are going to come up with objections, but you got to realize the difference between the stall and the objection. And when we get into it, you got to be comfortable hearing it and know what to do. Somebody tells you I want to think, oh, you need to smile and dig in. You got them right where you want them, right? Somebody tells you, well, I'm not going to do anything for a year. Smile, dig into them. You got them right where you want them. Because again, you know it's about price, right? Everything on here was about price except for the other project side. And if you label it down, you really figure it out what it is, you can kind of figure it out on your own. How well of a job am I doing price impression? How well of a job am I doing in my inside and outside inspection? How great of a job am I showing fear pictures in the house, my favorite 2 or 3, walking out and show them this is what it could get to if we don't hurry up and get to this, right? Big things are going to be up. Big things are going to be, this is going to be a big problem. I got a picture of Dan Lewis and Spanx. Just kidding. All right, back on it. But the real deal here is too, sometimes we might do everything right, but we're not focused on presenting the right solution, right? So if you're not listening to the customer, like I think somebody in there is talking about doing a better job asking questions, right? Does this make sense to you? Do you know why we have to do this? You know, getting into that aspect. So when it gets down, we realize if you're having a hard time or you got to take it out there at 36 months, no interest, make sure you're giving them an option in payments. Not just, do you want this payment or nothing?
Well, would you rather have this one or this one? Would you rather have this payment or this payment? Okay, we have 36 months, no interest at, $434 a month, or you can take it out a little bit at 120 months open account, basically at 123 a month. Which one of those fits best to your budget?
2.99.
2.99%.
You want that sold, don't you? Fortunately, you should have called the bank. If you wouldn't have put this up so long,
Yeah,
you would have had that
money.
money. So indecisions cost you a lot of money. I think Jim will call a toss in there, right? So the key is, again, hopefully if you guys took something from today's meeting that you can take out there with you, right? Sometimes peer confidence is there. Remember, be there for your team. Somebody's having a tough time, reach out to them, right? Or you should do your own due diligence. If you're having a tough time, reach out to somebody on the team you feel like you could trust and you trade advice with, right? So again, do ride-alongs. Figure out basically these challenges. One of the best things you can do if you ever get into a slump is call your last 3 customers and ask why they bought from you. When you call your last 3 customers and ask why they bought from you, you sit down, you get that affirmation. Sometimes we need to know that we're doing a good job. Because some days we push through and we're in a thankless job. Fortunately, I can't be there where I make a phone call to you every single day. So if you're doing a good job, I kind of leave you alone. If you're doing a bad job, I kind of leave you alone too. So the whole little middle mix is where I manage. So we got to make sure, reach out if you need help. Don't stay in the silence. Figure out what you need to be doing. Have somebody ride along and watch you. You riding along and watching somebody is good, but all you're doing is you're trying to justify why or why not why you think you're doing a good job. When you have somebody watch you that is unbiased, is just there to help, not getting paid to do it, then literally what happens is you get to see and get real opinion on how good of a job am I doing price impression? How good is my inspection? Where am I leaving stuff off? Am I showing my before and after pictures? Am I building the picture in my head? Am I asking good enough questions? Do I have diarrhea of the mouth? What's going on? Right? And don't forget, just like somebody said, they buy you. At the end of the day, you're representing DreamStar Modeling. You are the basically 8x10 sheet going out. You are basically the big, slick, glossy. That is you. You are the advertisement of the company when you walk into the house. How you represent yourself, taking your shoes off, asking good questions, seeking first to understand before we understood, seeing the project through their eyes so we can help them, all that stuff matters. And again, it's a simple business, but it's complicated as hell sometimes because we have to fight the 6 inch between our ears. So again, it's not about what you eat, it's what's going to eat you. So again, fight that stuff off. And we talked about today again before we got into the role play. You got your 14-foot well sitting there, you fall into that well, who do you have that can come get you out of the well? It's going to jump in and help you get out of it, and not just people sitting on top staring down telling you what to do. Okay? So again, with that said, appreciate you guys so far, but we got a month in strong, right? And I'm not kidding. We need to show a big last couple days following up, bringing anything that we got sitting on the table, because there's no guarantee 36 months is coming back into play after this month unless we prove we need it. And 28%, 27% isn't doing a good job proving that. We need to get that number back over 30 at all costs. So figure out what we need to do and what you need to do to put your place. Don't feel sorry for yourself. That's stupid. That's basically, you don't know what you don't know. That's time wasting. You got enough time to complain. You got enough time to train, right? So again, make sure we're doing those little things that we need to be doing. Did you got something on that?
Yes, to jump on the social media bandwagon there. When you just said it, if you're getting into a slump and you want to know why your customers bought from you, if you're doing a small little video and you're posting it, you can go back and do that. That should be the number one question.
You want to talk about solidifying the deal, they're not going to cancel either. Have a video of them freaking doing that. That's another
What's
great
the number one
idea.
reason that you bought from DreamStar?
So after the meeting, Dana's going to sit around and explain to anybody who wants to do the social media thing, they can do it. As this said, we're at noon. We're at noon. See that? That's called pattern interrupt, pattern repeat. There we go. So again, basically, with that, we're going to sound off and get the hell out of here. But appreciate you guys' time this morning. Hopefully, you guys took something from today. So with that, who do they think gonna beat SoCal? Have a good day, guys.
Thanks, Dustin.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm going to call you later. I wanted to talk to you about something.
All right, cool.
All right, thanks.